Every Sunday at 3 p.m. for 28 years, she came to the same bench by the sea, not to meet anyone, but to read a letter. A letter written to a man who had been gone nearly 3 decades. Most believed she was just an old woman lost in memory. But they didn't know the truth. She wasn't waiting. She was keeping a promise. The Sunday Ritual. Evelyn Clarke had lived in Brighton her entire life. Now 87, her world had shrunk to a few familiar places. Her small flat with lace curtains, the bakery 2 streets down, and the weather-worn bench facing the sea. Every Sunday, like clockwork, she would walk the cobbled path from her home to the promenade. Dressed in a gray trench coat, scarf pinned neatly, and hair tied in a soft bun, she looked like someone from another time. In her hand, always, a blue envelope. She would sit, take a breath, and begin to read aloud. My dearest George. Passers-by often paused. Some smiled. Some cried quietly before walking on. Few understood. George Clarke had died in 1992. Cancer took him swiftly, unfairly, leaving Evelyn a widow at 59. Their love had survived a war, years of naval separation, the loss of a child, and yet, cancer had taken him in silence. On the day he died, Evelyn made a promise. I'll write to you every week, until we meet again. And she had kept that promise, for 28 years. Letters to the past. Her letters were not poetic, nor dramatic. They were real, honest, full of the mundane and the miraculous. She told George about the weather, the birds in the garden, how their grandson Jamie had taken up piano. Some letters were tear-stained. Some were light-hearted. Others heavy with the weight of growing old alone. Evelyn read them aloud because she believed somehow he could hear her. The sound of the waves, she used to say, carried her words back to him. One winter morning, during a storm, Evelyn still made the walk. An umbrella tucked under one arm, boots soaked, she sat on the bench and read. George, remember the Christmas storm of '68? You swore the chimney would blow off. I can still hear you grumbling about the roof tiles. The storm howled. Her voice wavered, but she didn't stop reading. She never missed a Sunday. The boy on the bench. One October, a 16-year-old boy named Liam began coming to the promenade. He was a quiet teen, struggling with depression after his father's sudden death. He wore hoodies, too big for him, and kept his headphones in. One day, he sat near Evelyn, not knowing she was there every week. As she read her letter, her voice cracked. Liam instinctively turned and listened. The next Sunday he came again, and the next. Eventually, he sat on her bench. After weeks of silence, he finally asked, "Is that poetry you're reading?" Evelyn smiled. Unbeknownst to Evelyn, Liam had filmed a short clip of her reading a letter and shared it online. He titled it, "The Lady by the Sea Who Never Forgot." The video went viral. Comments flooded in. "This is the most beautiful thing I've seen. Reminds me of my Nan who wrote to my granddad till she passed. Real love still exists." People from around the UK and eventually the world began writing letters of their own. Some left them on Evelyn's bench, others mailed them to the local paper asking they be given to her. Evelyn was overwhelmed. She replied to many of them. You never lose someone you truly love. You just find new ways to carry them. The last letter. My darling George, I've kept my promise. 1,456 Sundays. 1,456 letters. And I'm tired, love. But it's a peaceful kind of tired. The world has changed so much since you left. We have computers in our pockets and children with eyes glued to screens, but love, George, hasn't changed. I've watched our grandchildren grow. I've met people who reminded me of your kindness. I've seen a boy find peace because of our story. And now, it's time. Wait for me by the sea. Are all my love, forever, Evelyn. That Sunday she left the letter on the bench. She didn't sit down. She just stood for a while, looked at the waves, and smiled. Then she walked away. The legacy, lives on. Liam still visits the bench. There's now a plaque that reads, "In memory of Evelyn Clarke, who wrote to love and taught us how to remember." People still leave letters, to lovers, to parents, to friends lost too soon. The bench is no longer just wood and metal, it's a sacred space of memory. Liam, now 24, volunteers at a senior care home. He says Evelyn changed his life. "She taught me that love doesn't die, it just takes new form." And each year, on her birthday, he brings a letter to Evelyn. Some love stories never make the headlines. They aren't filled with diamonds or grand gestures. They're found in quiet places, on benches, in envelopes, whispered between sea and sky. Evelyn Clarke's story is one of those. A story of promises kept, of grief turned to grace, of a woman who never stopped writing because she never stopped loving. And in that, she became unforgettable.